I misunderstood when I asked this. This obviously has political fallout for you, positively or negatively.
Yeah.
Okay. Once you realize the decision you're going to make, do you, and I'm not saying this affects your decision, but do you have conversations either before you release the decision or subsequent to it with political people saying, on the political side, what do I need to do?
No.
Not with the prosecution?
Yeah. I don't think it would have been inappropriate to do so, but we didn't have those conversations. I mean, the truth of the matter is, from the minute I told Mike Trump to do this, I knew it was a no-win situation for me. If we bring a case, we're going to have fallout. If we don't bring a case, we're going to have fallout. Those things, at the end of the day, don't really matter. The buck does stop on these cases at the Attorney General, and we intentionally keep political judgments isolated from the prosecutorial function. To be honest, from a political point of view, would it be easier? Would it be easier for me to release this report and then express a bunch of personal opinion about how disappointed I am in the mayor, so that the people who are angry at the mayor will feel like I'm with them? Yes, I could have done that. The reason I didn't is because I really do think being a professional prosecutor is very important. And I don't think a professional prosecutor would comment about this case. In fact, I know they wouldn't.
So you had no conversations about the political implications with people who are close to you, advisors, consultants, however you want to define them?
Certainly no conversations other than certainly undoubtedly turned to Ben Under at some point, who works for me, and said, gee, do you think we're going to get killed by the press on this? And that was probably about the extent of it.
What was his answer?
Don't remember. I mean, it would have been I don't even remember that we did this. I'm just saying it would have been a very normal thing for me to do.
So what you're saying is that moving forward, should you ever bring a case against anybody else, let's say an environmental polluter, we should not expect any political or ethical statements coming out of your office as it relates to that.
If I'm given a case and we determine at the end of the day that there are no charges to be brought, then yes, I won't be commenting on the propriety of what someone did or didn't do.
So are you separating your prosecutorial role? For instance, you've been quite outspoken on LNG, but there's no criminal proceeding there. So are you saying that we can expect you to issue policy decisions or to make speeches on issues in which you're not a prosecutor?
Yeah, I mean, my job required is got a lot of different hats, and one of those hats is a prosecutorial hat, but that's just one part of what my office does. And I think it's important to keep, cases where I'm a civil advocate, which have their own rules, distinct from cases where I'm a criminal advocate, which has its own rules, from ones where I'm operating as a policy advocate as Attorney General. So yeah, for me it's unsatisfying to other people who don't understand why keeping those different roles compartmentalized are important. They're important in part because I'm governed by different ethical rules as a lawyer for what I can do in each of those three areas. The kind of comments I can make about a civil case are very different from the kind of comments I can make about a criminal case.
Can you talk a little bit more broadly about what you learned from this whole process, or any regrets you have, or what you might have done differently? I realize that's a lot.
I think it's probably too early to do a post-mortem. I think the one thing is I think I could have handled the press conference in which I announced our decisions differently, in a way that would have framed what we were trying to accomplish very differently. So I think just from a sort of how do you frame your work so people understand what it is you're trying to accomplish, I mean that is obvious to me. I could have done that better, because the immediate reaction from the press was very hostile. And I think if I had understood better expectations of the media coming into that interview, and then had taken some time to contextualize a little bit and talked about, to be honest, I took a lot for granted. I took for granted that people would understand what I was trying to do, rather than explaining what I was trying to do, and I think that was a mistake.
Anything else? What lessons learned?
It's too early to do of postmortem. I don't think there's significant legal lessons. I mean, honestly, I think dealing with, I mean, no offense, but there's not a huge amount of legal sophistication amongst the media, and I didn't truly fathom that, and I think a lot of things. I think I could have done a much better job of presenting our investigation in ways that would have decreased suspicion rather than increased it, had I understood what the reaction was likely to be.
I think you were asked at the press conference who's paying for this. Is this going to be absorbed by your budget or is City of Portland going to be billed for?
We never bill in criminal cases, so that'll be paid for by the Department of Justice budget.
I apologize for coming in late, you guys already talked about the warrants.
Yeah, that's someone.
The last thing I'll tell you, I think, I mean, I do have a question for you, and I guess, I was kind of stunned by the degree of skepticism about the work we did here. Do you think I would have any motive not to charge someone with a crime if I believed that a crime is?
Prosecutors have very good motives for not charging people with crime when they believe crimes have been committed. You yourself have done so throughout your career. Yeah, I think you have a perfectly reasonable motive to not prosecute a misdemeanor. Is it really worth?
Yeah, but that's a very different, right? I mean, what if I had made that judgment, what you would be saying is that I lied in my report about what I was doing. Yes, if we had a viable case, then would we have gone to another question about whether it's appropriate to charge a misdemeanor here? Yes, a question we never reached. But I guess the more fundamental question is, it's kind of stunning to me that people's reaction would be, oh, I must have some motive not to charge a viable criminal case. I mean, that seems to me.
Well, I
Kind
could
of
describe a number of good and bad motives. Good motives would be, you kissed a 17-year-old, it's really stupid, it's below the standards we expect for a public official. We'll issue a report that made it very clear that you kissed a 17-year-old and it's stupid, but we're not going to spend $500,000 prosecuting anybody. We'll let the court of public opinion deal with it. That's, in my mind, a perfectly legitimate motive.
But then,
I can
but
describe some less than legitimate.
But then, Mark, I certainly would have said that. I mean, if one of the things
we don't know you.
Well, John.
Well, I mean that's fair. At the end of the day, I guess what I'm wondering is if you have any reason to believe I would intentionally write a deceptive report. I mean quite honestly, I mean, if I was a political hack, would it have been better to charge the mayor? Yes, undoubtedly. I mean, I don't have any doubt about that.
I think.
I mean, I mean, the idea that I have some motive
Again, with the understanding.
as a prosecutor, as a law professor who is sworn to uphold the law, I mean, it's a little bit odd to me that everyone's immediate reaction is, oh, the fix was in somehow.
Well,